The Truth Hunter. The Life and Legacy of Sarah Jameson. Part 1. Detective Sarah Parker had seen her fair share of crime scenes, but there was something different about this one. The town of Oakwood was small, quaint, and seemingly peaceful. But as Sarah stepped out of her car and surveyed the scene before her, she knew that something was amiss. The town square was bustling with activity. People were going about their business, but there was a sense of unease in the air. Sarah walked towards the police tape, and a uniformed officer stepped forward to greet her. "What do we have?" Sarah asked, trying to sound calm despite the growing sense of dread in her stomach. "Another disappearance," the officer replied. "A young woman, no sign of struggle or foul play. But she's just gone, vanished into thin air." Sarah's mind raced as she considered the possibilities. A kidnapping, a murder. She knew that she needed to get to work to solve this mystery before anyone else disappeared. As she surveyed the scene, Sarah noticed something strange. A group of people were gathered on the other side of the square, whispering among themselves. She couldn't quite make out what they were saying, but there was something unsettling about the way they were huddled together. Sarah approached the group, and they fell silent as they noticed her presence. She introduced herself as a detective and asked if anyone had seen anything unusual. The group remained tight-lipped, and Sarah couldn't help but feel that they were hiding something. She made a mental note to come back and speak to them later. As she walked back to her car, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that something sinister was happening in Oakwood. She knew that she had her work cut out for her, and that this mystery was only just beginning. Part 2. Sarah spent the next few days investigating the disappearance of the young woman, but there seemed to be no leads. The locals were reluctant to speak with her, and Sarah sensed that they were hiding something. One night, as Sarah was sitting in her hotel room, she heard a noise outside. She peeked through the curtains and saw a group of people sneaking around the hotel's parking lot. Sarah slipped on her shoes and followed them, keeping a safe distance. The group led her to a remote part of town where they disappeared into an old, run-down building. Sarah waited for a few minutes before approaching the building. She tried the door, and to her surprise, it was unlocked. Sarah cautiously stepped inside and was met with darkness. She fumbled for her flashlight and shone it around the room. She was standing in what looked like an old chapel, and there was a strange, pungent smell in the air. As Sarah crept deeper into the building, she saw something that made her blood run cold. In the center of the room, there was an altar made of stone, and on it, there was a large, black, and ancient-looking tome. Around the altar, there were candles and symbols that Sarah didn't recognize. As Sarah approached the altar, she noticed that there were bloodstains on the stone surface. She felt a shiver run down her spine as she realized that this was no ordinary crime scene. Suddenly, she heard footsteps approaching, and Sarah quickly ducked behind a nearby pillar. The group of people from earlier had returned, and they were carrying someone with them. Sarah peered out from behind the pillar and saw that it was the missing woman. The group laid the woman on the altar and began chanting in a language that Sarah didn't understand. As they chanted, Sarah realized that this was a ritual, and the people of Oakwood were sacrificing the woman to some unknown entity. Sarah knew that she had to act fast. She drew her gun and approached the group, ordering them to stand down. But the group was unfazed, and Sarah soon found herself in the middle of a dark and dangerous situation. Part 3. Sarah found herself surrounded by the group of people, and she knew that she was in trouble. They were chanting louder now, and the woman on the altar was writhing in pain. Sarah tried to keep her cool and keep her gun trained on the group. "Stop this now," she shouted, but the group continued their ritual as if she wasn't even there. Suddenly, Sarah heard a sound coming from the shadows. She turned her flashlight towards the noise, and her heart skipped a beat. Emerging from the darkness was a creature unlike anything she had ever seen. It was humanoid in shape, but had long, spindly limbs and glowing red eyes. The creature lunged towards Sarah, and she fired her gun, but the bullets seemed to have no effect. The creature knocked Sarah's gun out of her hand, and she stumbled backward. Sarah quickly realized that she was outmatched and outgunned. She made a run for the door, but the group caught up to her and tackled her to the ground. The next thing Sarah knew, she was waking up in a dimly lit room. She tried to move, but her hands and feet were bound. She looked around and saw that she was in a makeshift prison cell. She tried to remember how she got there, and realized that the group had taken her captive after the failed attempt to stop their ritual. Sarah knew that she had to find a way out before it was too late. As she lay there, Sarah heard footsteps approaching. She braced herself for another attack, but to her surprise, it was the woman who had gone missing. She was bruised and battered, but alive. The woman explained to Sarah that she had been kidnapped by the group, and used as a sacrifice in their ritual. She had managed to escape and had been hiding in the building when Sarah had arrived. Sarah knew that they had to work together if they were going to escape. She managed to free herself from her bonds, and together, they crept through the building, avoiding the group and the creature that seemed to be guarding them. After what felt like hours, they finally emerged from the building and into the cool night air. They made their way back to Sarah's car, and she drove the woman to safety. As Sarah sat in her car, reflecting on the events of the night, she knew that she had uncovered something far more sinister than a simple disappearance. The people of Oakwood were practicing dark magic and sacrificing innocent lives for power and prosperity. Sarah knew that she had to bring the group to justice and put an end to their evil practices before anyone else was hurt. The mystery of Oakwood was far from over, and Sarah was determined to get to the bottom of it. Part 4. The next morning, Sarah woke up early and headed to the local police station. She had to report what had happened and get the authorities involved. When she arrived, she was met with resistance from the local police chief. He didn't believe her story and accused her of causing trouble in their peaceful town. But Sarah wasn't deterred. She had evidence of the group's activities and was determined to make the police see reason. She spent the next few hours convincing the chief to take her seriously and to investigate the matter further. As the day went on, Sarah was able to gather more evidence and information about the group's activities. She spoke to locals who had seen strange things happening in the town, and she found out that the group had been operating in Oakwood for years. With the evidence in hand, the police finally agreed to raid the building where Sarah had been held captive. They found the altar, the tome, and evidence of the group's activities. The group members were arrested and charged with a range of crimes, including kidnapping, murder, and dark magic practices. It was a victory for Sarah and for justice. As Sarah packed up her things to leave Oakwood, she felt a sense of satisfaction. She had solved the mystery and put an end to a group of dangerous individuals. But she also knew that this was just one case, and that there were many more mysteries out there waiting to be solved. As she drove out of town, Sarah knew that she would always be drawn to the unknown, to the mysteries that lay just beyond the horizon, and she knew that she would always be ready to solve them, no matter how dangerous or complex they might be. Part 5. Several months had passed since Sarah's adventure in Oakwood, and she had returned to her job as a private investigator. However, she couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to the mystery than what she had uncovered. One day, Sarah received a letter in the mail. It was from the woman she had saved in Oakwood. In the letter, the woman revealed that she had been doing her own research into the group and had found something disturbing. It turned out that the group was just one small part of a larger network of dark magic practitioners. They had been operating in different towns across the country, using their powers to gain wealth and influence. Sarah knew that this was a major discovery, and that she had to investigate further. She contacted the woman and arranged to meet with her. Together, they traveled across the country, following a trail of clues and uncovering more and more about the dark magic network. They discovered that the group had powerful allies in high places, and that their influence extended far beyond what they had previously imagined. As Sarah dug deeper, she realized that this wasn't just a mystery to be solved, but a battle to be fought. She knew that she couldn't do it alone, and so she reached out to a network of like-minded individuals, each with their own unique skills and expertise. Together, they formed a team dedicated to taking down the dark magic network once and for all. They worked tirelessly, gathering evidence, building alliances, and planning their next move. Finally, the day came when they were ready to strike. They organized a coordinated attack on the network's headquarters, and after a long and intense battle, they emerged victorious. The dark magic network was disbanded, and its members were arrested and brought to justice. Sarah and her team had saved countless lives and put an end to a dangerous and sinister organization. As Sarah looked back on her journey, she realized that she had come a long way since her first case in Oakwood. She had learned to trust her instincts, to think on her feet, and to never give up in the face of adversity. And although there would always be more mysteries to solve, Sarah knew that she had the skills and the determination to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Part 6. After the successful takedown of the dark magic network, Sarah's reputation as a private investigator grew even stronger. She was flooded with requests for help from people all over the country, who had their own mysteries to solve. But Sarah wasn't interested in just any case. She wanted to tackle the most challenging and mysterious ones, the ones that others had given up on. One day, a mysterious woman walked into Sarah's office, requesting her help with a case that had stumped investigators for years. The woman claimed that her husband had disappeared without a trace, leaving behind no clues or leads. Sarah was intrigued and agreed to take on the case. She dove into the investigation, interviewing witnesses, poring over evidence, and following any leads she could find. As the investigation progressed, Sarah uncovered a web of deceit and betrayal that had led to the husband's disappearance. It turned out that he had stumbled upon a dangerous secret that had put his life in danger. With the help of her team, Sarah was able to track down the people responsible for the husband's disappearance and bring them to justice. It was another satisfying victory, but Sarah knew that there would always be more mysteries to solve. As the years went by, Sarah became known as one of the best private investigators in the country, sought after by people from all walks of life. But despite her success, she never forgot her roots. Whenever she had free time, Sarah would visit small towns and rural areas, looking for new mysteries to solve. She loved the challenge of the unknown, the feeling of satisfaction that came from uncovering the truth. And so, Sarah's journey as a private investigator continued, filled with adventure, danger, and mystery. But she wouldn't have it any other way. For Sarah, there was nothing more thrilling than the hunt for the truth. Part 7. As Sarah grew older, she knew that she couldn't keep up with the demanding physical and mental tolls of being a private investigator forever. But even as she began to slow down, she never lost her passion for solving mysteries. Instead, Sarah took on a new role as a mentor, passing on her knowledge and expertise to a new generation of investigators. She opened up her own detective agency, training young people in the art of investigation and guiding them through their own cases. Years passed, and Sarah watched as her protégés became successful investigators in their own right. She was proud to have played a part in their journeys, knowing that they would continue her legacy of uncovering the truth. Eventually, Sarah passed away peacefully in her sleep, surrounded by her loved ones. But her legacy lived on, in the countless lives she had touched and the mysteries she had solved. As people around the country heard of her passing, they remembered her as a hero, a woman who had dedicated her life to seeking justice and uncovering the truth. And so, as the years went by, Sarah became a legend, a name spoken with reverence by those who knew of her exploits. Her legacy as a private investigator inspired countless others to take up the mantle and continue her work, ensuring that the hunt for the truth would never end. The end.